Sapsanamma, and these are the top stories so far. Donors prioritize laws and policy formation over infrastructure and productive sectors. Policy worth millions used in facilitating discussions regarding legislation and its possible amendments. Despite agreement on constitution amendment between ruling parties, Nepal Communist Party and Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum, clauses and date still unclear. US President Donald Trump says an agreement with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on denuclearization could be reached. Trump considers inviting Kim to the White House if the summit in Singapore goes well. And Simona Halep blazes into finals of Roland Garros, defeating Spanish Garbiñe Muguruza. American Sloane Stephens also reaches the finals, defeating compatriot Madison Keys. Let's begin with the national political updates. Only 3 decades ago, foreign aid agencies financially assisted Nepal in establishing industries and factories, helping the country build roads, bridges and installing electricity lines, among other infrastructure development. However, for a decade now, these aid agencies have limited their field of interest, while most of their assistance are spent on laws and policy formation and foreign visits for policy makers. The Basbari leather and shoe factory was built in 1965 with an assistance from the Chinese government. Likewise, the Hetauda-Kathmandu ropeway was built with the help of Russian government, and the American government helped establish the telephone lines. However, apart from these remarkable achievements, foreign aids have rarely been used for infrastructure development and productive sectors. Since the beginning of the early 90s, foreign aid agencies have shifted their focus towards human rights lobbying, conducting awareness campaigns and forming laws and policies through national and international non-governmental organizations. Likewise, following national reformations post-People's Movement in 2006, a large portion of these international assistance were spent on formulating the constitution. Several constitution experts believe the unwarranted interference of foreign donors is to maintain their influence in the government for their own special interests, which will yield unwanted results in the long run. The level of donors' involvement seen in constitution formation and formulation of laws and policies has raised doubts over our capability to formulate on our own. Now, the participation of the United Nations Development Programme UNDP in the 2-day program organized by Federal Parliament Secretariat to inform lawmakers about the parliamentary proceedings has escalated debates in recent days. However, the UNDP has been conducting a session in the name of Parliament Support Programme under the leadership of Joint Secretary of the Parliament Secretariat Mohan Prasad Bhattarai. It has been found that the policy worth 320 million rupees has been utilized in facilitating lawmakers and for holding discussions regarding the legislation for its possible amendments. The project introduced by the UNDP during Nepal's constitution writing process had landed in controversy. Amid wide criticism, the Centre for Constitutional Dialogue (CCD) project had to be halted midway. At a time when the new parliament has just started its proceedings, the UNDP has already entered the federal legislative in the name of Parliament Support Programme. UNDP conducted a 2-day program at the building of the federal legislative itself to train the lawmakers of both the houses. The Federal Secretariat has said with confidence that the contents of the program were determined by the Secretariat itself and that the UNDP was only lending practical support. But in the name of supporting the parliament, the UNDP is spending almost 320 million rupees under the project. While the UNDP is spending millions of rupees, the Federal Secretariat's statement of not spending the said amount is in itself contestable. The government has allocated 3.75 million rupees for the parliamentary trainings, which according to the former officials of the Secretariat is sufficient to train the parliamentarians. It is a primary responsibility of the executive of the country to manage necessary resources for all constitutional bodies in the nation. It also has the authority to deploy foreign aids as per the nation's priorities and necessity. Questions have thus surfaced over the necessity on the part of our lawmakers to seek financial support from a foreign donor agency to make a living. It has already been a week since the cabinet expanded after Nepal Communist Party and Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum reached a consensus regarding constitution amendment. However, no significant progress has been noted as of yet in this regard. The two-point agreement between the two parties had agreed on making changes in the constitution as per the necessity, significance and legitimacy. The agreement had paved way for the Sangye Samajwadi Forum's entry into the government. However, agreement was sought to amend which clause in the constitution and by when have still not been revealed. Sangye Samajwadi Forum has special interest on the Article 274 of the constitution, which provisions endorsement of changes in provincial borders by majority of province government. Sangye Samajwadi Forum is in the favor of adjustments in the provincial border if the majority proposal of a provincial assembly is endorsed by the federal parliament. Meanwhile, Sangye Samajwadi Forum is also interested in the issues of provincial autonomy and citizenships, among other. But no official statement has been proposed regarding which issue has to be amended in what manner. The issue of constitution amendment has already entered as an agenda for inter-party discussion. The leaders of Nepal Communist Party themselves are of the opinion that the amendments will be made at a time when its significance and necessity is realized. This also hints at the fact that there won't be immediate process for constitution amendment. And with that, we'll take a short break here. More news when we come back. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Yesterday, we had asked the locals in Chhapa, Kaski and Kantipur regarding if they think the sparsely conducted market monitorings have controlled inflation. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
विभिन्न समय मात्र हैन एउटा स्वतन्त्र निकायमा सधैँ गर्दा चाहिँ मूल्य नियन्त्रण अलिकति नियन्त्रण हुन्छ कि जस्तो मलाई चाहिँ लाग्छ।
व्यवसायीले खरिदै गरे हुन्छ महँगो रेटमा भनेपछि बजार अनुगमनबाट चाहिँ अब मूल्य नियन्त्रण हुन्छ जस्तो मलाई चाहिँ लाग्दैन।
देखावटको लागि मात्रै घुमे जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई।
रेगुलर अनुगमन भइरहनु पर्छ र महँगी यदि व्यापारीहरूले बढाएको छ अनावश्यक रूपमा त्यो प्राइस लिस्ट देखियो भने त्यसलाई कारबाही तुरुन्त गरेको पनि बाहिर आउनुपर्छ।
तर देखावटी हिसाबले गर्ने हो भनेपछि यसले चाहिँ गर्छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्दैन।
कुनै पनि अनुगमनले काम गरे जस्तो मलाई लाग्दैन।
हरेक चीजको मूल्य वृद्धि भइराखेको छ, अलिकति कन्ट्रोल चाहिँ गर्नै पर्ने हो।
तोकिएको मूल्यमा हामी किन पाउँछौँ है भन्ने निर्धक्कता त हुनु पर्यो के।
मासिक एकचोटि पनि गर्न सके त्यसले के राहत पाउला।
बजारमा मूल्य वृद्धि किन हुन्छ भन्ने कुराको सिद्धान्तलाई पनि बुझेर यदि अनुगमन गर्ने हो भने मूल्य नियन्त्रण गर्न सकिन्छ।
Businesses have been found hiking market prices for consumable goods in recent days, giving an excuse of the budget announced. At the same time, the government has not even hinted at resuming the market survey and monitoring that was halted 3 months ago following pressure from the business sector itself. The price of vegetable oil was hiked by 20 rupees per litre, while rice and pulses have also been increased by 10 rupees per kilogram. Sugar that was sold for 65 rupees per kilogram previously now costs between 75 to 80 rupees. Retailers have said the prices for goods have increased as their wholesale prices have increased as well. The government had commenced market monitoring after consumers were found cheated with adulterated and inferior quality goods. However, the monitoring was halted following protests from the businessmen. Apart from few monitoring carried out by the Agricultural Development Ministry to test the quality of food items, the concerned Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies has remained inactive. Supply Minister Matrika Yadav has, however, said the ministry is doing its legworks to resume the monitoring. With that, it's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's today's question: what should be done to stop hospitals from charging exorbitant fees? Your options are A. Determine parameters, B. Set a price ceiling, and C. Regular monitoring. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 8080 to share your opinion with us. But that is now time for the sports update.
Sports news.
Now, the special court has acquitted former Nepal national football team captain Sagar Thapa of match-fixing charges along with 5 others. Along with Sagar Thapa, Sandeep Rai, goalkeeper Ritesh Thapa, Bikash Singh Chetri and former coach Anjan Kesi have been cleared of the charges. Absconding team physio Dejib Thapa was also acquitted by the joint bench of Justices Baburam Regmi, Pramod Kumar Shrestha Vaidya and Naren Prasad Pokhrel earlier yesterday. After their acquittal, the alleged footballers said they would now appeal at the Asian Football Federation to lift their ban. AFC had put a life ban on these players after they were arrested, and a case was filed at the special court on 8th November of 2015 for match-fixing charges. Police had claimed the players took up to $5,000 per match. Captain Sagar Thapa, along with 4 other players and former coach Anjan Kesi, were released on bail on 10th of November 2015. Anjan Kesi, however, was again arrested 2 weeks ago on charges of illegal betting on Indian Premier League and other international football matches. Now, before we wrap up, here's a look at the top stories one more time. Donors prioritize laws and policy formation over infrastructure and productive sectors. Policy worth millions used in facilitating discussions regarding legislation and its possible amendments. Despite agreement on constitution amendment between ruling parties Nepal Communist Party and Sanghiya Samajwadi Forum, causes and dates still unclear. US President Donald Trump says an agreement with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on denuclearization could be reached. Trump considers inviting Kim to the White House if the summit in Singapore goes well. And Simona Halep blazes into the finals of Roland Garros, defeating Spanish Garbiñe Muguruza. American Sloane Stephens also reaches the finals, defeating compatriot Madison Keys. And that's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 11 a.m. Stay with us for more news and entertainment here on Kantipur TV HD. Have a great day ahead.